Good morning, friends. Uh, all the students, I like to welcome you all on this third session of state estimation. Today we will discuss Gaussian probability curve and bad data identification technique. So also in between we will discuss some attributes of least square estimation, which will be useful while we are identifying the bad data from the measured data. Prior to commence today's session, I would like my sincere thanks to Professor Dr. S.R. Joshi sir, who is principal at S.S. Gandhi Engineering College, Surat, and Professor Viren Pandya sir, who is at Electrical Engineering Department in S.S. Engineering College, Bhavnagar, Shantilal Shah Engineering College, Bhavnagar. Both of them have make this presentation possible, and they have played active role to make it a qualitative. I firmly believe that without their support, this presentation won't be a qualitative, which it is. So from bottom of my heart, I would like to thank both of them. That sir, both of you, thank you so much for making this presentation a qualitative one. So after this, let's start with our third session of state estimation. In previous two sessions, we have already discussed that what is state estimation, what is measured variable, what is state variables, and all this. Now let's directly discuss discuss Gaussian probability curve. First, let me tell you what is the necessity to discuss this probability density function. Think about simple circuit where you have one source of 5 volt which is connected with a 2 ohm resistor. Ammeter is connected in between to measure a flow of current. Obviously, the ratio of V by R, that is 5 by 2, is equals to 2.5, that is the current which is flowing through that circuit. If we connect ammeter, then it may possible it will be erroneous. If that ammeter will be erroneous, then if I switch on and off that circuit 1,000 of times, then every time it will show me a reading. Based on its accuracy class, it will show a different reading. Suppose if accuracy class will be 2.5%, then from actual value, its value will be deviate 2.5% either on a positive side or on negative side. So this concept, while we are studying this instrumentation and day by day, due to the development in instrumentation technology, now we have more accurate instruments available in the market, which has a higher sampling rate and everything. But still, it is difficult to say that instrumentation era has reached up to its peak, where each and every instrument offers 100% accuracy. So when we are dealing with such kind of erroneous instrument, at that time, Gaussian probability density function plays an active role. So that's why we need to study Gaussian probability density curve, density function while we are discussing state estimation. Now, basically, Gaussian probability density function is represented by a curve. This continuous curve is obtained by plotting large number of measured values of a function against their relative frequency. Now, let's stop till here and understand what it tries to say. That suppose my ammeter initially it shows 2.5, then after 10 or 20 readings, if I repeat that experiment on thousands of times, then it may read different values at different point of time. So due to that, if I plot a curve, then it may possible that first reading, 10th reading, and 100 reading offers the same value. So I have to plot that curve in a such a way that based on a repeatability or say relative frequency of a particular value, I have to plot that thing. And that is what exactly defined by Gaussian normalization curve or Gaussian probability density function. So suppose over here, my scale, full scale deflection is from 0 to 5 ampere for that ammeter. As I mentioned previously, 5-volt source is connected, and in series ammeter as well as 2 ohm resistance is connected. So the true value or theoretical value of that current, that will be 2.5. But due to constraint of measurement or instrument, always we don't have that value 2.5. Say there will be a deviation from that value plus zero point 0.5 to minus zero point 0.5, then some point of time it will show me 2 ampere, 2.01, 2.02, 2.2, likewise. And in another side it may show me a 2.6, 2.7, likewise. So if I repeat that or switch on this circuit on a number of times, then each and every time, most of the times, it will show me a different reading. So based on occurrence of same value, the relative frequency is calculated and a plot is drawn. So if we draw the plot, then it will have a bell shape kind of curve. If that function we want to define mathematically, then it should be remained as Pz. Z is nothing but the measured value. So probability of occurrence of that Z value is equals to 1 divided by sigma, sigma small sigma, keep this thing in mind, under root 2 pi into epsilon raised to half a bracket Z minus mu divided by sigma square. See over here, Pz, that will shows you the probability of occurrence for value Z. Sigma, small sigma, that will be represent a standard deviation. As I mentioned earlier, that suppose my meter having standard deviation plus 0.5 to minus 0.5, then because of true value or mean value is 2.5 ampere, it may give me a value between 2 to 3. Mu, that is correct value or say mean value. So the number which occurs more frequently, that will be termed as a mean. So if we calculate the mean, that should be equals to mu. So over here, once again, I am mathematically representing or repeating the same thing, that the probability of occurrence of Z value is mathematically represented by Gaussian probability density function, and that is equals to 1 by sigma under root 2 pi into epsilon raised to minus half z in bracket z minus mu divided by sigma whole square. Over here, z is nothing but the value of that variable, mu is nothing but the mean value, and sigma is nothing but your standard deviation. Okay, so now if we discuss the plot, then it will have a bell shape kind of curve. Due to this, from this we can directly observe that the maximum number of times value mu that will be occur. Hence over here it will attain the peak at mu. Over here y scale represents the value which is absolute value, while z scale that will becomes a normalized value. From absolute value to normalized value, we all know we have to do our normalization function. How to do normalization function? We know the value mu, then each and every observation or each and every value or each and every observation, that will be divided by value mu, and whatever the value we will get, that is nothing but the normalized value. So after converting that absolute value to normal value, once again plot will be plotted, and that is known as a normalized Gaussian probability density curve. Okay, so basically Gaussian probability density curve can be drawn by two ways. First one, that is a normalization process, and second one is using absolute value. But so far shape is concerned, that won't alter. Over here, by visualizing the same thing as I mentioned earlier, the maximum occurrence frequency that will be observed at its mean value, and that is mu. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that sigma, that will be represented by a standard deviation. So that will deviate from plus 4 sigma to minus 4 sigma. So suppose if I consider sigma as a 0.1, then my value will be vary from mean value to minus 0.4 to plus 0.4, likewise. So once standard deviation of that meter is known to us, then that kind of normalization curve or that kind of scale can be decided. In this, if we talk about this particular curve, then mostly this curve will deviate only up to 2 sigma. After normalization, we can easily say that the area under this curve that will remains unity. Okay, so now suppose I have, for example, if we consider the same thing, that 5-volt source connected with 2 ohm resistance, in between one ammeter is connected, and we want to draw the probability curve considering that ammeter, then what exactly we want to know? We want to identify the deviation as well as the mean value. Mean value is nothing but the actual value, but the standard deviation that will be judged based on its accuracy class. Okay, so suppose if now I want to identify that what is the probability that instrument show me the reading between 2.6 to 2.7. Actual current that will be 2.5. As I mentioned earlier, on positive side and negative side, that instrument will offer me plus 0.5 and minus 0.5 deviation. So now I want to identify the probability of offer by that instrument to offer me the value between 2.6 to 2.7. So say over here, this is nothing but say A is equals to 2.6 and B is equals to 2.7. So in between the shape or area of this curve divided by whole area, that will give you the probability. So after normalization, it is very easy to determine the probability, and the main advantage of normalization curve is you can universally apply to everywhere. If suppose one ammeter ranging from 0 to 100 ampere, and it has a same sigma which has a 0 to 1000 ampere, so same plot can be used for another ammeter. So that's why normalized value is more pronounced to use by for drawing this Gaussian probability density function. Now, based on this curve, over here, keep this thing in mind. We have drawn a two curve. One is a steep curve, which is represented by a straight line, and second one is not a that much steep, which is represented by a dotted line. So both have a different value of sigma. So we'll discuss afterwards, but right now keep this thing in mind. We have a two probability function for a different sigma value. Over here it is sigma 1, for this is sigma 2. And why this shape is so, we will discuss later on. So the first observation we can derive from visualizing that curve of Gaussian probability density function is we can easily establish a probability function that this value will lie between value A to B. As I mentioned earlier, if I want to identify that the what is the probability for the value showing by that meter is from 2.6 to 2.7 ampere. So that area I have to identify and divide by total area, that will gives me the probability. Now over here main focus is to mathematical representation. See, it is always difficult to represent each and every function on a mathematical basis. Okay, and that's why we more often see that the heuristic search day by day prevails, because there is no mathematical formula is required. But in order to find out the mathematical function after applying any kind of algorithm, it is very difficult thing. So over here the probability of value z gives a value between a and b is equals to closed loop integration of pz dz. Now see, whenever we want to find out the area, the simplest method is to take integration between two limits. So over here, higher limit and lower limit are selected, which is nothing, but as we have seen from the previous slide, it is a and b. A and b, a will be a lower limit, b will be a higher limit, and in between integration will be taken of pz. So that will gives you the area occupied between this area from a to b by this curve. Okay, it mathematically another way we can represent it, it is 1 by sigma under root 2 pi closed loop integration of a to b epsilon minus half raised to z minus mu divided by sigma bracket complete whole square dz. Okay, so this will show you the probability of that meter to show you the value between A to B. Now, sometimes the meter will be 100% accurate. Sometimes it may show a zero reading. So the reading will lie from minus infinite to infinite. That is a two extreme case we have to consider. Third one, that is, keep this thing in mind. There are three things we have discussed. First one, that is error. Second one is true value, and third one is expected value. If I like to understand three things, then true value may be say 2.5. Expected value is also 2.5 because we want to expect that the meter should show the value of 2.5 every time, but which is not a regular practice, or it is not an actual practice. Okay, if suppose Z will show 2.4, we will accept that thing and we will apply least square estimation technique to minimize that error and bring our value towards 2.5. So the expected value, most probably it should be tell as a mean value, where the frequency of occurrence that will be maximum from that curve, we can say that. And that expected value is represented by a closed loop integration of minus infinite to plus infinite z into pz dz. So it may be observed that Z is symmetrically bunched around the expected value mu, and later it is known as a mean value of Z. So what is mu? Mu is nothing but for this function, it should be a mean value of Z because it is symmetrically bunched around that value. And second thing is that the maximum number of times Z value Z is equals to mu, that value will appear, or the relative frequency of occurrence for mu Z is equals to mu is the highest level. Third thing, that is variance. Suppose my true value is 2.5. Each and every time it will show me 2.44, 2.46, 2.48. Then we can design at a standard deviation. Standard deviation is sigma. Over here, the standard deviation is nothing but the deviation from actual value to its mean. So over here, the standard deviation sigma square designated as variance. So keep this thing in mind. Sigma is a standard deviation, but variance is a square of this. Okay. So over here, variance is defined as a square of standard deviation. Okay. So standard deviation, if we want to define, then it is nothing but the variation from its mean value. As it is square over here, we once again put square over here and put the same equation over here, minus infinite to infinite, that is a closed loop integration, z minus mu square pz by dz. Okay, so depends upon the, we can also find out the variance using standard deviation for the value lying between these two. Now, in previous slide, we have discussed that we have two kind of sigma, sigma 1 and sigma 2. So if we plot a two curves, then one that will be a stiff one, second one that will be a not so stiff. Now, let's understand with an example. Suppose over here, this is this peak and this peak from positive and negative. Minimum value that will be say around mu and say almost minus 2 sigma to mu plus 2 sigma. Okay, so most of the value lies between 2 sigma to minus 2 sigma. So over here, the deviation that will be minus 2 sigma to plus 2 sigma. But in this graph, it will be minus 4 sigma to plus 4 sigma. Hence, we can say that if measurement meter will offer a larger standard deviation, that will result into lower stiff curve. Okay, if curve will be more stiffer and if the standard deviation will be lesser. So it means that if we have another curve which lies from mu minus 1 sigma to mu plus 1 sigma, then it will be more stiff compared to this also. From this curve, we can also judge the accuracy class. We can also, by using these two curve, we can also easily tell that accuracy class of this that will be lower compared to a straight line curve. Okay, so as the standard deviation will be lesser, the accuracy offered by a meter that will be larger. It can be easily predict by using that curve. This is nothing but the standard deviation. Once again, we know that variance is nothing but sigma square. So standard deviation is nothing but the positive square root of variance. It is a vice versa kind of thing. Once we have defined the variance of, we do have a value of variance, we can easily obtain the value of standard deviation. It is nothing but the positive square root of it. And this is nothing but the standard distribution curve. If we want to plot, then this is the probability function and this is the actual value. If we correlate these two, then we have a bell shaped curve, which is known as a Gaussian distribution curve. Now let's define or let's establish relationship between weighting factor and variance. See, in my first session, we have discussed that the highest order of accuracy offered by any meter will be designated as the highest weighting factor. Suppose if a meter is not at all erroneous, then its weighting factor that will be 100%. It will offers at a 75% of accuracy, then weighting factor will be 75. If it is 50%, then it will be a 50. So based on accuracy cost offered by that ammeter, we have designated the value of weighting factor. Now, what is variance? Till now, we know that square of standard deviation is known as a variance. Okay, so now this topic will be a link between uh, weighting factor and variance. So we want to establish a relationship in order to ease of access, or to find out the easy solution using least square estimation. It is better to find out the relationship between weighting factor and variance. So for that, let's find out the product of zeta. What is zeta? Zeta is nothing but the error. So zeta and zeta transpose, if we multiply, see, we want to find out zeta square, but due to the size of that matrix, that is m cross 1, and if we take the product of zeta and zeta, it is not possible. So one of them that will be transpose. Hence, we will find out the zeta square by using zeta into zeta transpose. So first zeta, that is nothing but my, if I have a m number of instruments, we'll have a column matrix m cross 1, and over here it is a zeta transpose, that will be a 1 cross m matrix. If we take a product of these two, then that will be gives me this matrix. This is a square matrix and its size will be m cross m, where m is nothing but my measured variable. Okay, so over here, measured variable, if it is n, then the size of this matrix, which is represented by zeta into zeta transpose, it should size is m cross m. If we consider the first row, then this will multiply with entire this row. So first element, that will be a zeta 1 square. Second element will be zeta 1 into zeta 2. Third element will be zeta 1 into zeta 3, and so on. Last element, that will be zeta 1 into zeta m. So zeta 1 square, that is nothing but the error or square of noise or square of error offered by my instrument 1. So if we closely look this matrix, then diagonal elements of this matrix will show the square of error offered by a individual meters. This second component will show a interdependency of error offered by instrument 1 due to instrument 2. See, in real practice, if we talk about a real practice, then we know that instrument 1 will be faulty, then it won't create any harm for instrument 2 if the circuit is properly connected. So by utilizing that fact, we can say that the product of zeta 1 and zeta 2 should not be considered while calculating. So based on assumption that erroneous instrument 1 will not create any kind of adverse effect on other instrument, that's why the product of sigma zeta I and zeta j will be treated as a 0, and the expected value of that will be considered as a 0. So hence, from this matrix, only diagonal terms are considered, which has a some expected value. Otherwise, off diagonal terms, based on our assumption, the expected value of all the off diagonal terms, that will be 0. So over here, this matrix can be simply represented by using expected function, that this expected function will be 0. So all the off diagonal elements will be a 0 as mentioned over here, and all the diagonal elements are only considered. Okay. So now the probability or expected value of zeta square, that will be a matrix of m cross m, and which has only and only diagonal elements. Now over here, this diagonal elements are also termed as a variance, which is symbolized by R, capital R. Okay, what is capital R? As we all know that sigma is or variance is nothing but sigma square. So R is equals to, we know that expected value of zeta into zeta dash. Then we can easily replace zeta 1 square, zeta 2 square, zeta 3 square, and zeta 4 square by that standard deviation, square of standard deviation. What is square of standard deviation? That is nothing but your variance. Okay. So in my previous slide, we have already discussed that sigma square is variance. Keep this thing in mind, while sigma is a standard deviation. So over here, the variance matrix is defined as diagonal components which has a individual sigma square. What is sigma? Sigma is nothing but the standard deviation of individual meter. Okay. So variance matrix R is a square diagonal matrix. Order is m cross m, same as zeta into zeta transpose. And third thing, most crucial, that R is defined as a variance matrix. Okay, what is variance? Variance is nothing but, as we discussed previously, it is equals to sigma square. Okay, now let's get back to our weighting factor matrix. Weighting factor is also m cross m. It has also a diagonal matrix only, diagonal elements only. And we also know that if wi is equals to 1 by sigma I square, means sigma I square, that is sigma I, that is standard deviation, and sigma I square, that is variance. So we can replacing wi by sigma 1 by sigma I square. That will show you that over here I have replaced w1 w2 w2. Instead of that, I have write down 1 by sigma I, sigma 1 square, 1 by sigma 2 square, up to 1 by sigma m square. So only diagonal elements are represented, and represented in such a way, we have substitute wi is equals to 1 by sigma I square. So now I have replaced my weighting matrix, which is also m cross m matrix. Previously it was only consist of diagonal elements, and all the diagonal elements are nothing but my weighting factors of our individual meters. But now it will be replaced by wi is equals to 1 by sigma I square. Hence that is nothing but the inverse of my R. Suppose over here 1 by sigma I square, instead of this, what is R? In my previous slide we have seen that R is nothing but only a matrix which has a only diagonal elements, and the elements of that matrix is sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square, sigma 3 square, and likewise. This is R matrix and these are the diagonal elements. On contrary, it is 1 by sigma I square. So by comparing these two equations, we can easily say that W is equals to R inverse, and its elements are diagonal elements, which is nothing but the square of standard deviation. Now consider about G. In my first lecture, we have defined G matrix. That is nothing but the product of H transpose into weighting matrix into H. H is nothing but the element which is, sorry, matrix which is formed by using network topology. So G matrix we have already defined. Now the covariance is also variance is also find out by using empirical formula. Empirical formula is the formula which can be determined by uh, uh, actual practice, or by some practical aspects, or given by expert from field. This formula is known as the empirical formula. So the empirical formula is nothing but some field expert will suggest some formula, and based on that formula is developed. So this is nothing but the formula for variance, which is 1 by sigma square. It is equals to 3 divided by mode of C1 Zi plus C2 into FS3 whole square. See over here, what is C1 and C2? Both are constant. Zi is nothing but the value offered by that ith meter, and FSD is nothing but its full scale deflection. Now, as we know that Z is equals to, this is our first equation we have derived, that measured value is equals to calculated or true value plus error or noise. So over here, if we substitute this value, then we can say that x hat, which is expected value of x, is equals to G inverse H transpose W. Over here, we are substituting the value of Z, it is Hx plus zeta. So using this formula, we can expand this formula in a likewise fashion. So now we can write x hat is equals to G inverse H transpose W into H into X plus G inverse H transpose W into zeta. Now we know that G is equals to H transpose W into H. So over here H transpose W into H multiplied by G inverse, that will be unity. So only X should be represented over here, while this term will be as it is. So this term will remains as it is, but over here we can substitute G inverse is equals to this, and hence only X will be remain value. So if we move this x on this side, we can easily derive this equation that expected value of x minus x is equals to G inverse H transpose W into zeta. See over here, error hat is equals to nothing but Z hat minus Zi. Over here, if the value will be substituted, it is H into x hat minus x. Now what is x hat minus x? In our previous slide, we have determined that x hat into x is equals to G inverse H transpose W into zeta. So if we substitute this value over here, now zeta is equals to H as it is from this uppercase, and G inverse H transpose W into zeta. If we move this zeta on another side, we can easily derive this equation. I minus H G inverse H transpose into W is equals to into zeta is equals to 0, where I is equals to identity matrix. Now let's discuss few generalized mathematical terms that if expected function will be determined when we have a multiplication function like E is equals to AZ plus B. It is kind of superposition theorem, so we can this constant can be separately taken out, and it is nothing but the expected function of Z plus B, so it won't create any mismatch in results. So we are going to utilize this formula afterwards. So keep this thing in mind that when we are applying this expected value function, the multiplier, if it is a constant one, we can bring it out and we can only consider the expected value of the variable Z. So once again, if we extend this, then expected value of x1 can be judged using the above previously discussed formula. It is equals to G inverse H transpose R inverse. What we did over here, W is replaced by R inverse, and this is nothing but the expected value of errors is equals to 0. So now by using this formula, simple mathematical formula, this can be judged, and it can be, we can derive this formula, which is nothing but the expected value minus the value of state variable should be equals to G inverse H transpose R inverse into matrix, which is nothing but the expected value of zeta, and it is also M cross 1 matrix. Now expected if we define the expected value of zeta, what is it? It is a measured value minus expected value. So once again, if we substitute this, then we can also write that it is equals to I minus Hg inverse H transpose into W, and zeta, that will be a matrix form, should be equals to 0. So once again, we know that expected value is almost about true value, but still we are moving towards Z value. So we can form this equation that I is minus H G inverse H transpose W bracket, and outside of bracket we have to multiply this whole things with zeta. So now in this equation, if we replace W by R inverse, we will have this equation. See over here, we have multiplied zeta with zeta transpose. So when we are considering zeta transpose, at that time we have to reshuffle this term, and over here R should become prior to the rest of terms. So this is nothing but the representation of zeta only, while zeta transpose is I minus R inverse H G inverse into H. So if we consider these two and take the expected function, so the expected value of zeta square or zeta into zeta transpose is nothing but the multiplication of these two. And as we have explained earlier, कि अगर आपके पास, if you have only a variable function, then expected value should be only imposed to that function. So hence expected function is only applicable to this variable. So if we substitute R is equals to, as we have previously discussed, variance is nothing but the expected value of zeta square. So over here, if we substitute same and multiply on this side, then R inverse multiply by R, that will be a considered as a I. So this is I multiplied by R, as it over here it should be R minus R inverse into R, that will be I, H G inverse into H transpose. Now if we want to take out or as a least factor, R as a least factor, we will have a two equal matrix multiplied by R, which is represented by equation 14.39. Now, this is our final equation which we have derived, that I minus H G inverse H transpose into R inverse, once again multiply with same matrix into R. Now, I minus H into G inverse H transpose R inverse is idempotent matrix. Now this is a new term. It is not practically new terms. You have already studied in math 3 that what is idempotent matrix. Idempotent matrix is defined as that matrix which multiply by itself, then result into itself. What does it mean? Suppose A into B into C, we have three matrix, matrix A, matrix B and matrix C. If we have three matrix, matrix A, B and C, if we multiply with same A, B and C, then it will result into same thing, A, B and C. The product of A, B and C and A, B and C will result into A, B and C. Then we can say that this matrix is idempotent matrix. Okay, so by using that matrix property, we can say that this is nothing but a simple I minus H into G inverse into H transpose into R inverse, and R will be as it is. Okay, so now what is R? See, don't misjudge. R is nothing but the variance. What is variance? Variance is nothing but a sigma square. Okay, so now let's discuss further that now we will to define another matrix which is known as a R dash. What is R dash? R dash is known as a covariance matrix. What is covariance matrix? Covariance matrix is a product of R minus H into G inverse into H, okay, which is also a diagonal matrix. But keep this thing in mind that R and R dash both are different. R is known as a variance while R dash is a covariance matrix. In order to use this bad data identification treatment, we have to identify this. Okay, so if we proceed further, then same first equation we can say that expected value of value zeta into zeta transpose is equals to I minus H G inverse H transpose R inverse into R. If we multiply with R, our value will be R minus H into G inverse into H transpose is equals to R dash. Okay, so what is R dash? R dash is also a diagonal element. It has also only few elements which are diagonal elements, and rest of the components, though it may attain some value, we will not consider this. Okay, so keep this thing in mind that covariance matrix which is represented by R dash only diagonal components of that matrix will be considered for a calculation, and rest of the components are neglected. Now utilizing the same fact, we can say that over here it is zeta square under root Ri. So Ri is nothing but the zeta square, expected value of zeta square. So both will be equal. Hence the ratio of these two terms will be 0. Sorry, both will be equal. Hence the ratio of these two terms, that will be 1. So over here, if we substitute zeta I, it is nothing but Zi minus Z expected whole square. It is as it is under root Ri dash square. Okay, so under root of this means denominator and numerator are equal, hence it is equals to 1. But over here we substitute this value, then the strange looking things will be come out, that the ratio of these two will help us to find out the degree of freedom. What is degree of freedom? It is nothing but m minus n. So let's discuss one by one, and we will find that the ratio of this term will gives us a degree of how can it will leads us to identify the degree of freedom offered by that network. Now, see, y is equals to z minus mu by sigma, there y is nothing but the value which is offered due to the probability function. Of at any point of time, my meter will show me the value of y, which is z minus mu divided by sigma. So that expression, if we plot on a Gaussian distribution curve with mu is equals to 0, then we can say that variance is equals to unity. Why so? Because mu that will be 0. So positive half and negative half both having equal value, and the variance, or the positive side and negative side both have equal value, hence the variance that will be a unity. Now remember this thing, we have already previously discussed that Wi is equals to 1 divided by sigma I square. The measurement of error by its estimated is former unknown, because we don't know that what will the value of measured error. Estimated error, we know that estimated value of error that will be 0, and that is our motive. But the measurement error, that we don't know. So over here this will be replaced by a measurement error. So now this r dash, that will be always a diagonal matrix which is a sigma I square, but this is expected value of this. The expected value of error will be 0, but keep this thing in mind that expected value of error square is not equals to 0. The expected value of error square is equals to covariance matrix, which has only diagonal components. So now utilizing same thing, if we further expand this, then expected value of actual value minus expected value whole square. So recalling that same formula, we can say that the expected value of zeta I divided by under root of covariance matrix should be equals to expected value of Zi minus Zi hat divided by under root of covariance matrix Ri dash whole square is equals to 1. Now same thing, we want to find out the index, performance index. So performance index function can be also classified or mathematically represented as sigma. See, over here we are using two sigma, keep this thing in mind. This is uppercase sigma and this is lowercase sigma. So from now onwards, don't get confused. If I pronounce sigma, will pronounce uppercase sigma means this, and lowercase sigma means this. So lowercase sigma will represent standard deviation, while uppercase sigma, that is nothing but the symbol of addition. Okay, so in this function we are using 2 sigma, where lowercase sigma, that will represent a standard deviation, sigma square, that will represent variance, while capital sigma, that is nothing but the symbol of addition. So over here the performance index function is represented by zeta I square divided by sigma I square. How we can derive this? As simple as this, it is Wi into zeta I square. Okay, in place of Wi, we have substituted 1 by sigma I square. So now my previously defined performance index function for least square estimation is modified, and now that performance index is equals to, if instrument, I have m number of instruments, then I can say that it is equals to, I is equals to 1 to m zeta I square divided by sigma I square. So by substituting the value for sigma I in preceding equation, we can say that the expected value of performance index will be capital sigma from I to m zeta I square divided by sigma I square. Instead of this error, we can say that it is actual value minus zi true value whole square divided by sigma I square. Now this expected value will be further classified, and that expected value of that performance index we want to identify. So we have to take the estimation. For that estimation, we have over here we have multiplied numerator and denominator by Ri. What is Ri? It is nothing but the variance. What is variance? It is a inverse of sigma I square. So over here, numerator and denominator both are multiplied by a variance. See, it is variance. It is not covariance. What is covariance? It is R dash. And what is R? It is variance. So over here we can say that now using this equation and equation 14.43, this equation where covariance is in denominator, if we merge these two, then we can easily say that over here the expected function is equals to Ri by sigma I square first term. Now instead of this is Ri into Ri square. It's zeta I square divided by Ri. Now let's take it outside of this. It will be, instead of zeta I error, we can write that it is actual value minus the expected value and divide by under root of Ri square, or this is covariance over here. So now fortunately that we can verify this whether this equation or expected value of performance index is true or not, because this will result into m minus n. So always keep this thing in mind, the value of this expected function that will show you a degree of freedom or degree of redundancy, which is nothing but a m minus n. So with the help of this, we can find out that the mean value of performance index is integer constant and it is equals to redundancy. What is redundancy? Difference between measured variable and state variables, which is m minus n. It is also known as a degrees of freedom. Okay, now don't get confused because we have defined many variance, covariance, that kind of term. So let's discuss one more time so that entire thing will be clarified or it can be visualized more realistic way. So first term, that is E is equals to Z minus Hx. The statement is measured value, it is Z. Hx is equals to true value. So over here we have defined value E, error. Okay, and that is nothing but the statement is the difference between measured value and true value. Okay, that is nothing but the covariance matrix. Now second thing, that expected value of error, that is a difference between a state variables, true and estimated value of state variables x minus x hat. So when we are defining a E hat, that is expected value of that error, it is nothing but a variation from true value to expected value, and that is defined as a G inverse, which is equals to H transpose R inverse H whole raised to inverse. Okay, otherwise we have also derived this equation in past slides, that it is equals to G inverse H transpose R inverse into E. Okay, and third one, that is E hat is equals to Z minus Z hat. What is Z? Z is a measured value, Z hat is the estimated value of that measured variable. Previously Ex hat means it is the expected value dealing with X state variables. Now E hat means expected value of measured variable. So difference between these two is, over here it is all about expected value of state variables, and this is expected value of measured variables. So Z hat shows the expected value for that measured variable, while X hat represents the expected value for state variables. Hence over here it is difference from altogether, and this is equals to covariance. So over here we have three kind of variance. First one, that is when we are discussing only error, which is variation from measured value to true value. Second one is expected value of error, while we are discussing only a difference between state variables to its expected value. And when we are discussing E hat, that is nothing but the difference between measured value to expected value of measured variable. Now let's discuss, to clarify that thing. It is always better to discuss this equation using numericals, because in my case, my modes of the doubts of power system or any kind of concept, that will be only clarified once I go through a numerical. So following the same practice, let's discuss one numerical which use this formula. And if you solve this numerical on your own, if you find any difficulty, just let me know. If you solve this numerical, you will always easy to identify what is the matrix, covariance matrix, variance matrix, and what is expected value of E. So first, from MATLAB calculation, simple circuit, we have R is already given. R is nothing but the diagonal components. Over here, the diagonal components has a value 0.01 for first two, and next 0.0133. Rest of the components, as we have assumed that the error of first meter will not create any kind of impact on another one. That's why rest of the components are treated as a 0. So no off diagonal elements are considered for this calculation. Now R dash, as we have already derived, covariance matrix is defined as difference between I minus I is identity matrix minus H G inverse H transpose into R inverse into R. So R is known to us. So R dash can be easily find out. After finding R dash, we can find out R dash. So let us first find out the value for this. So over here, the value of this is find out, and it has a M cross M matrix. So from visualizing this, we can say that it is a matrix of 5 cross 5. Hence, in this example, we have 5 measurements. So over here, R temp is calculated. Why R temp is calculated? See, this is my R temp. And what is R dash? R dash is I minus R temp. What is R? R is something else. It is only variance. What is variance? Variance is nothing but the square of my standard deviation. So now one more variable is added, that is R temp. And if we subtract I from R temp, multiply by R, that will give you the value for covariance matrix. So R temp will be calculated. After calculating R temp, we can find out the value of matrix covariance. So covariance matrix, it is for M. So we have a 5 measurement. Expected value of my performance index, that will be I is equals to 1 to M. Ri dash divided by sigma I square is equals to I is equals to 1 to N. And over here I have substituted that formula. So after finding this, we can find that if we substitute this value individually, then I remains, that will be equals to 1. R temp 1 is equals to, from previous thing, this is my say first element, this is second element, this is third element, and so on up to fifth element. So if we substitute that equation, then we can find 1 minus plus, because over here capital sigma stands for side of summation. So the sign of summation is used. Hence, each value is substituted for R temp. It is subtracted from 1, and ultimately we'll get is equals to 3. It means that if we have a Mayu number of measurement variable and 2 state variables, then degree of freedom will be equals to 2. So the ratio of Ri dash divided by sigma I square, that should be equals to a degree of freedom. What is Ri dash? Ri dash, once again, it is covariance matrix. What is sigma I square? Sigma I square is nothing but the standard square of standard deviation. Okay, and what is square of standard deviation? It is nothing but the variance. So ultimately this is R dash minus divided by R. Okay, so the ratio of R dash by R or R dash by sigma square, if we take for all the meters, then the result that will be a degree of freedom. Okay, so this is now for this session. In next session, we'll proceed further with the chi-square estimation technique, from which bad data can be identified very easily. And after identify bad data, what are the precautions we have to take, or what are the treatments we are going to employ, that we will discuss in my next session. So thank you all for watching this. If you do feel any doubt, then let me know. We'll try to solve your queries as early as possible. Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care and peace. Stay safe.